Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am JM. This is a show where we sit around and we talk about games, things that we love. We talk about game design, game reviews, styles of games, give out advice for GMs, for players, just to make sure that, how can we refine our games and make the best of our time at the table. So today we're starting a series that the patrons of Iconic Production over there have voted on, and so this is something they would like to see. So thank you to all of the patrons of Iconic Production, and we greatly appreciate you. As I'm going through and writing this up, I will be making a Google document available to our patrons so that they can see, make comments on, and put ideas out for this, what we're about to do. So one of the things that people have asked me about is how do I plan my campaigns? How do I create settings for games to use? And I put out a couple of different ideas, and this is the one that kind of the patrons voted and wanted to see. So we're going to be looking at the Valley of Troikas over this year. We're going to be developing it on stream with the hopes that it will eventually be published for consumption and use at your table for jackals. Hey, Mr. Bob Crumb. Mr. Bob Crumb has already done one piece of art that I will show off at some other point of one of the creepy monsters that you can find in the Valley of Troikas. So today I figured I'd just do a great overview, kind of real simple. Hey, here's where this is at. Here's what our goals are. Here's how I plan to do this. Thursday, by the way, I think we are going to be doing a review of this game right here, Holler, a new Savage Worlds setting. I think we're going to kind of go over that and talk about it. It's a really interesting new setting, kind of 1930s Appalachian horror. Tim Early did an amazing job writing this. Appalachian folklore and horror is not something that I ever have gravitated to, but Tim really made this game shine. So we're gonna do an overview of that and a review of that and what's in the box on Thursday. So Bob, you would like Holler a lot. It's got a really interesting vibe to it, something that comes alive and is also very personal in a way that I haven't encountered very often in gaming. So, the Valley of Troikas that we're going to be looking at over this year is, if you are familiar with jackals, is to the northwest of kind of the Zaharets, the main area that has been focused on for the 3 books of jackals. Now, why I'm doing this is kind of the idea is one of the main cities in the Zaharets is a Melkoni colony. Melkoni, like the Greeks, would constantly create new colonies in an attempt to both bring in new wealth, to thin out the populations of cities, to create new space for their people. And so what we're having is, if you've been following along in the Jackal storyline as the different books have come out, Crow Ryla, the city of Ryla, has become very overpopulated. And so the idea behind the Valley of Troikas is that it's this untouched forest and valley area to the northwest of the Zaharets that Glycera, the ruler of Crow Ryla, is trying to create a colony in an attempt to thin out the population of Crow Ryla and establish a new Melkoni city in the area so that natural resources can flow into Crow Ryla and worked goods can flow out to the new settlement in an attempt to kind of stabilize the region for the Melkoni. So that's what we're going to talk about over this year. The idea will be is we will build up the colony, the NPCs, and then develop a hex crawl around that settlement. And the idea is that this new settlement in the valley is part of what the players are going to be doing. Is they are going to actually be ensuring that this settlement survives. There's a lot that can go wrong in the years. It's probably going to cover 10 years, much like the fall of the Children of Bronze. And the idea will be is that your jackals will be drawn to this new settlement in an attempt to kind of prop it up and become part of the new settlement if it survives. For the first 3 or 4 years, that's going to be on a razor's edge as to whether the settlement can actually coalesce into a new town and survive. And if it fails, obviously then whatever darkness attacked the new settlement will be that much closer to Crow So that we're going to create a lot of fun mechanics around how do we manage a settlement. And if you've read Jackals, you know that I want a little bit of simulation, but really at the end of the day, I want a lot of fun. And what are we going to put in this? Well, again, the patrons from Iconic are going to help with this. You guys in the chat are going to be able to help with this. The idea that we want to have is we want to have an events-based plan for the valley. And what do I mean by that? Well, there are several things that are going to happen. There are going to be fixed locations around the valley that as the jackals go out and hear rumors and do go on adventures, they will be able to find these fixed locations. The idea being the closer they get to a fixed location, the more they're going to find out that there's something out there. We're going to make random locations. So locations events that can be placed anywhere on the map, whether you choose to pick and place a location or whether you choose to roll randomly. Kind of give a meshing between a sandbox and a linear plot. Thanks, Bob. I put a lot of thought into how I want to design this kind of start to finish. There will also be time-based events. There will be some fixed over the 10 years that, hey, at this point, this happens. And at this point, this happens. But there will also be triggered events. The idea being, as the jackals kind of go out, whenever they happen to uncover the trigger for a event, that will set into motion, hey, this thing is coming. So for example, maybe they find tracks of a new Takan clan. Then they find they encounter the first, the new Takan clan. And that means in the fall of the next year, this clan attacks the settlement. So we're going to kind of have fixed in space and time events, and we will have locations, and we will have fixed and flexible in space and time events. All of this kind of coming around the idea of, will this location survive? Now, one of the cool things about this is, in my mind, this is sort of an idea of Balin going into Moria. Will Moria survive? What's out there? Part of the fun will be seeing how long will your settlement survive. And I'm hoping that that'll be something that engages people both as we talk about it on stream, as we design on stream, as I take ideas from the patrons in the chat. There's going to be a new channel on the Discord today or tomorrow on the Iconic Discord where you're going to be able to help talk about this exact creation. Padre, good to see you. Hope you're able to catch it on the rewatch. The other thing that's going on the Iconic Discord that is tying into this is that a lot of people on the Iconic Discord are doing Dungeon 20, where every day we're putting up a new room of our dungeon. There is a mega dungeon in the Valley of Troikas. It's one of the last Hunnic mansions that fell before the end of the Grand Kingdoms. And I'll probably do an entire episode just kind of talking about Ekiazaru and the Han and who they are, do kind of a discussion of lore for jackals. But that is all things that are going to kind of come together around the Valley of Troikas. We're going to introduce a ton of new monsters. We did a couple of monster design sessions that people really liked. We're going to continue that. We've got some great new monsters to share that are very much localized both to the region of the Valley of Troikas as well as the coast of this area. Again, I'm going to show off a great piece of art that Bob did for me on this. So, that is kind of what the overview of the Valley is going to be. That is what we're going to be designing on stream. And so Tuesday of next week, we're going to start talking about the settlement. What's the name of it? What kind of NPCs we want? What are the different things that are going to be important to keep track of in the settlement? Yeah, Bob, it's very creepy. You captured the strangeness of those creatures for me, and I greatly appreciate that. Like Bob has this amazing ability to take what is in my head and kind of rip it out and manifest it in ink and color and shape, and that is something that I really appreciate about him. Go team. So it's a short one today. I realize I'm gonna kind of also fill you in on what we've got going on this week. For those of you who are patrons of Iconic Podcast, yes, we missed a week. We're going to be releasing an extra episode here in the mix just to kind of get back on track. I mentioned in the update that, hey, life happens. On the flip side, we're going to be canceling our stream tonight. There is a ice storm kind of moving through Texas right now, and it is definitely we don't want people coming into the studio because it's not safe to drive at this point. But it does look like our Friday night stream, the second part of our Savage Rifts adventure, will be going live. We have everybody streaming in for that, so as long as I have power, we're going to be streaming that. And I will be back on Tuesday for more discussions of behind the screens. We're going to be covering Holler, which, again, very excited to kind of show that off. And we have a new show that is in the works. We're going to be doing a lot of one-shots and two-shots over the month of February, and then in March, we're launching our new campaign. As I get more information about that, I will be glad to share that with you. Our tour game, if you guys haven't watched, came to a climactic end with Zorba possibly taking over the role of one of the High Lords. For those of you who know nothing about Torg, this would be the equivalent of a PC and a Lord of the Rings game, seducing the One Ring away from Sauron and claiming it as their own. And I mean that by seducing the One Ring, not seducing Sauron. Torg is a weird game. Just a strange game. So, thank you all. I realize it was a slightly shorter behind the screens, but you know what? Sometimes that is just the way things work out. Thank you to Bob for showing up. Again, thanks to everybody who tunes into these, who leaves comments. I try to get back to everyone on the Iconic Production channel. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing here on Twitch or subscribing over on the YouTube channel. And if you really like what we do, if you want to be part of Dungeon 20, if you want to be part of the planning of the Valley of Troikas, this new supplement coming out for Jackals, jump over to the Iconic Podcast, join our patronage, and let's talk on the Discord channel. It is a very active community. There's a lot of fun people. There's a lot of people who have been GMs and players in our shows going all the way back to the original games of Fading Suns and the Eternity Shards. Mark, who is part of the Iconic Podcast and was part of our tour game and showed up as several characters across our Fading Suns game, is also doing Dungeon 20 with me, as is Restar, Ben, who plays Brother Block, and he is just creating an amazingly crazy dungeon on the channel. So until Thursday, thank you all for tuning in. Bob, always good to see you, my friend. Always good to have you on these shows. And I will talk with all of you on Thursday. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. We'll talk to you later. Bye.